worst crash tests I've seen. And in all of these, the Pontiac Montana is the worst performer, just telling you. And the Pontiac Montana or the Pontiac Transport, it's the same thing. It's the worst performer of all of these. And yes, it got a poor rating because the ratings are good, acceptable, marginal, or poor. Just a friendly reminder. Crash tests start in 3, 2, 1. Or as the IIHS does it, test will commence in 3, 2, 1. The vehicle is underway.
Reason we rate this vehicle acceptable and not good.
Initially, the Institute says it found a real problem when it sent the $22,000 Hyundai Sonata down the runway. Watch the seat.
Notice it goes all the way up here past the dummy's head. It needs to stay in place to keep you from flailing around inside.
Would you call this a failure?
This is a failure of the seat, exactly.
So what happened?
The safety belt actually got tangled up with the seat back recline lever. It actually lifted on the lever, allowing the seat to be loose in the car.
And what was the fix?
The fix was to put this little tang on the end of the lever so that in the crash, when the belt is sliding forward, it can't slide past that and get behind the lever.
And it worked.
And it worked.
Without the fix, the Sonata is rated poor. But Hyundai has recalled nearly 36,000 cars in order to repair the seat. Done.
That's the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety's front crash of the Pontiac Transport. The Transport crumbles as it hits the offset barrier, crushing the front end and badly damaging the passenger compartment. The floor buckles and the seat tilts forward. As a result, it earns a poor rating. After the dummy moves into the airbag, the neck snaps rearward as the steering wheel intrudes. Then the dummy's head is hit by the seat back and head restraint. As you can see, the forces on the driver are devastating. There is a likelihood of neck injury, as well as injury to both of the lower legs.
And yes, this crash test is almost like the Pontiac Transport that you saw earlier.
That's the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety's front crash of the Hyundai Sonata. The passenger compartment does not hold up well in this type of accident. The midsize Sonata only earns an acceptable rating overall. As you can see here, the car's roof rail buckles on impact. Intrusion into the footwell makes leg injuries a possibility for the driver. During rebound, the dummy's head hits the B-pillar and roof rail. However, there is a low risk of injury to the head. That's the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety's front crash of the Hyundai Elantra for model years 2001 to 2003. The sedan slams into the offset barrier at 40 miles per hour. The front end crumples, but the passenger compartment holds up well. There is still a risk of serious injury. Measurements taken from the dummy show head injuries are likely. There are also indications neck injuries are possible, as well as damage to both legs. The Elantra earns a poor overall rating in the frontal offset test for the model years 2001 to 2003.
2003 Honda Pilot, moderately priced at almost $30,000.
The dummy's head is very far forward before that bag deploys. and you see a violent movement back of the head. That is the consequence of a very late airbag firing.
Honda was concerned and reprogrammed the airbags for
The door literally opened.
Passenger compartment. The impact is made worse for the Bel Air driver by the lack of airbags, head restraint, and even a seatbelt. Injuries to the neck, chest, and both legs would be likely. Consequently, the Bel Air receives a poor rating across the board. Here's how this model does in the side crash test. Without the optional side airbags, the Camry performs poorly. Measurements on both the driver and the rear passenger show risk of injury. The driver is hit by the intruding barrier. Measurements indicate that the driver would likely suffer serious skull fracture or brain injuries. Measurements from the rear passenger indicate rib fractures and injuries to internal organs would be likely. The Camry earns a poor score.
There's a secret. They're the same cars.
The Nissan Quest is one of the worst performing vehicles we've ever seen in the small front overlap crash test. The structure collapsed like a house of cards. This point here moved nearly 2 feet toward the driver, trapping its left leg between the seat and the instrument panel. We had to cut the seat out in order to remove the dummy, and then we needed a crowbar to pry the right foot loose. Not surprisingly, the forces measured on the left leg were so high that a real person experiencing that would be lucky ever to walk normally again. You wouldn't want to be in the Chrysler Town & Country or its twin, the Dodge Caravan, in this kind of a crash. The structure collapsed around the driver. This portion here moved more than a foot into the driver's space. At the same time, the steering wheel moved to the right. so the dummy's head slid off the airbag and impacted against the instrument panel. When the structure collapses, injuries are more likely. In the case of the Town and Country, the dummy's left leg was gouged by the intruding parking brake pedal, and its knee was severely cut by a bracket underneath the instrument panel. So this doesn't bode well for real humans in this type of crash.
This is the Kia Sophia from Korea, newly marketed in the U.S.
Not particularly good structural performance. In fact, it's clearly poor structural performance.
O'Neill calls it major collapse. The safety cage has not done its job.
The dummy's movement was not very well controlled. You see how the dummy is flailing around. This is all related to the poor structural performance of the car.
The floor is driven back as much as 14 inches, the most of any car. Dummy readings showed the driver would have had 2 broken legs.
We see this car as performing poorer than even the other 2 that we rated poor. This one does stand apart.
Rates the Kia Sophia poor.
Sorry, right now it's already been 11 minutes. We can't do this anymore. I think it's been long enough to end the video right here. So hopefully you enjoyed, and have a nice day or night if you're watching this at night. So yeah, good night or good morning or good day, who knows.